Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very warm welcome to this Monday, 10th July 2023 morning Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam talk. Today we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 9, Text 10. Before we discuss on this verse, let's sing Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopishana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopishana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe. Jai Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe. Jai Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Jaya Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parijakacharya Ashtotri Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य शिला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, मायापुर धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Krishne Matirastu. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 10. Today we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 10. The verse is pravartate tatra rajastamastayoḥ sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ na cha kāla-vikramaḥ na yatra māyā utāpare harer anuvratā yatra surāsurārcitāḥ. Pravartate yatra rajastamastayoḥ sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ na cha kāla-vikramaḥ na yatra māyā utāpare harer anuvratā yatra surāsurārcitāḥ. Pravartate yatra rajastamastayoḥ sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ na cha kāla-vikramaḥ na yatra māyā utāpare harer anuvratā yatra surāsurārcitāḥ. Word by word, pravartate, prevail, yatra, wherein, rajah, tamah, the modes of passion and ignorance, cha, and, miśraṁ, mixture, na, never, cha, and, kāla, time, vikramaḥ, influence, na, neither, yatra, therein, māyā, illusory external energy, kim, what, uta, there is, apare, others, harer, of the personality of Godhead, anuvratā, devotees, yatra, wherein, sura, by the demigods, asura, and the demons, architaḥ, worshipped. Translation: in that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time, so what to speak of the illusory external energy? It cannot enter that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. The kingdom of God, or the atmosphere of the Vaikuntha nature, which is called the Tripada Vibhuti, is 3 times bigger than the material universes and is described here as, also in Bhagavad Gita, in a nutshell. This universe, containing billions of stars and planets, is one of the billions of such universes clustered together within the compass of the Mahat Tattva. And all these millions and billions of universes combined together constitute only 1/4 of the magnitude of the whole creation of the Lord. There is a spiritual sky also. Beyond this sky are the spiritual planets under the names of Vaikuntha, and all of them constitute 3/4 of the entire creation of the Lord. God's creations are always innumerable. Even the leaves of a tree cannot be counted by a man, nor can the hairs on his head. However, foolish men are puffed up with the idea of becoming God himself, though unable to create a hair of their own bodies. Man may discover so many wonderful vehicles of journey, but even if he reaches the moon by his much advertised spacecraft, he cannot remain there. The sane man, therefore, without being puffed up, as if where the God of the universe abides by the instructions of the Vedic literature, the easiest way to acquire knowledge in transcendence. So let us know through the authority of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam of the nature and constitution of the transcendental world beyond this material sky. In that sky, the material qualities, namely the modes of passion and ignorance, are completely absent. The mode of ignorance influences a living entity to the habit of lust and hankering. And this means that in the Vaikuntha Lokas, the living entities are free from these two things. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Brahma-bhuta stage of life, one becomes free from hankering and lamentation. Therefore, the conclusion is that the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are all Brahma-bhuta living entities, as distinguished from the mundane creatures who are all compact in hankering and lamentation. When one is not in the modes of ignorance and passion, one is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness in the material world. Goodness in the material world also at times becomes contaminated by the touches of modes of passion and ignorance. In the Vaikuntha Loka, it is unalloyed goodness only. The whole situation there is one of freedom from the illusory manifestation of the external energy. Although illusory energy is also part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, the illusory energy is differentiated from the Lord. The illusory energy is not, however, false, as claimed by the monist philosophers. The rope accepted as a snake may be an illusion to a particular person, but the rope is a fact, and the snake is also a fact. The illusion of water on the hot desert may be illusion for the ignorant animal searching for water in the desert, but the desert and water are actual facts. Therefore, the material creation of the Lord may be an illusion to the non-devotee, but to a devotee, even the material creation of the Lord is a fact, as a manifestation of his external energy. But this energy of the Lord is not all. The Lord has his internal energy also, which has another creation known to be the Vaikuntha Lokas, where there is no ignorance, no passion, no illusion, and no past and present. With a poor fund of knowledge, one may be unable to understand the existence of such things as the Vaikuntha atmosphere, but that does not nullify its existence. That spacecraft cannot reach these planets does not mean that there are no such planets, for they are described in the revealed scriptures. As quoted by Srila Jiva Goswami, we can know from the Narada Pancharatra that the transcendental world or Vaikuntha atmosphere is enriched with transcendental qualities. These transcendental qualities, as revealed through the devotional service of the Lord, are distinct from the mundane qualities of ignorance, passion, and goodness. Such qualities are not attainable by the non-devotee class of men. In the Padma Purana Uttara Khanda, it is stated that beyond the 1/4 part of God's creation is the 3/4 manifestation. The marginal line between the material manifestation and the spiritual manifestation is the Viraja river. And beyond the Viraja, which is a transcendental current flowing from the perspiration of the body of the Lord, there is a 3/4 manifestation of God's creation. This part is eternal, everlasting, without deterioration, and unlimited, and it contains the highest perfectional stage of living entities. In the Sankhya Kaumudi, it is stated that unalloyed goodness or transcendence is just opposite to the material modes. All living entities there are eternally associated without any break, and the Lord is a chief and prime entity. In the Agama Puranas also, the transcendental abode is described as follows. The associated members there are free to go everywhere within the creation of the Lord, and there is no limit to such creation, particularly in the region of the 3/4 magnitude. Since the nature of that region is unlimited, there is no history of such association, nor is there end of it. The conclusion may be drawn that because of the complete absence of the mundane qualities of ignorance and passion, there is no question of creation nor of annihilation. In the material world, everything is created and everything is annihilated, and the duration of life between the creation and annihilation is temporary. In the transcendental realm, there is no creation and no destruction, and thus the duration of life is eternally, unlimitedly. In other words, everything in the transcendental world is everlasting, full of knowledge and bliss without deterioration. Since there is no deterioration, there is no past, present, and future in the estimation of time. It is clearly stated in this verse that the influence of time is conspicuous by its absence. The whole material existence is manifested by actions and reactions. of elements which make the influence of time prominent in the matter of past, present, and future. There are no such actions and reactions of cause and effects there. So the cycle of birth, growth, existence, transformations, deterioration, and annihilation, the six material changes, are not existent there. It is the unalloyed manifestation of the energy of the Lord, without illusion as experienced here in the material world. The whole Vaikuntha existence proclaims that everyone there is a follower of the Lord. The Lord is a chief leader there, without any competition for leadership. And the people in general are all followers of the Lord. It is confirmed in the Vedas, therefore, that the Lord is the chief leader, and all other living entities are subordinate to him. For only the Lord satisfies all the needs of all other living entities. So this was a sizable purport by Srila Prabhupada. Before we discuss on this verse and this purport, let us offer some prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namashrestham Manamapi Shachiputram Matra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Murupurim Mathurim Goshthavati Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuda Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Adadandastrunam Dante Idam Yacha Punah Punah Shriman Rupa Padambhojam Dhulisyam Janma Janmani He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 10. Pravartate yatra rajastamastayoḥ sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ na cha kāla-vikramaḥ na yatra māyā utāpare harer anuvratā yatra surāsurārcitāḥ. In that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any influence of their in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time, so what to speak of the illusory external energy? It cannot enter that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. This verse is describing in detail about the transcendental abode of Krishna. Krishna mentions this in Bhagavad Gita, Na tatra bhāsate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yad gatva na nivartante tad dhamam paramam mama. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita about his supreme abode, and he says that there is no sun or moon required in that transcendental realm. Na tatra bhāsate suryo na shashanko na pavaka, nor electricity is required. Yad gatva na nivartante tadhamam paramam mama. So from where one does not return back, that is my supreme abode. So this is said by Krishna. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita about the different, about his energies. So he has got his apara prakriti and para prakriti. Apara is the transcendental, supreme, internal potency of the Lord, and para prakriti is that, and apara is the material energy of the Lord. So bhumirapa analo vayu kham mana buddhirevacha ahankaram itiyam me bhinna prakriti rashtada apareyam me itastu viddhi me prakritim param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedham dharete jagat. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that earth, water, fire, air, the space, mind, intelligence, and false ego, these constitutes his separated energies. So whatever we are seeing in a gross way and even in the subtle way, that is his separated energies. So we see when we look at the 8 separated energies that Krishna mentions. So there is earth, which can be felt as well, which can be touched. So it is solid. And then we have water, which is liquid. And then we have air, which is gas. And then we have the fire, which is if one tries to touch a burning fire, one gets burnt. So generally people do not touch fire because of that. But we know that there is fire. The fire is glowing. And then there is space. So everything is existing within the space. So, and then we have the mind, intelligence, and false ego. The mind, we know the mind exists. So there is actually a field of science, which is called the psychology, which deals with the study of mind. So just like physiology deals with the study of how the physical body is structured and what ailments come to the physical structure of the body, the psychology is dealing with how the mind is structured and how the mind is giving ailments to the person. So this is, we see that it is the combination of the physical body, the mental existence in the mind, and then we have what is generally, unfortunately, ignored, the original us. That is what Krishna says, aparayam itastuanyam vidhime prakritim param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharete jagat. So there is my superior energy, which is called the living entities. So this is the mamai vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanātana manaha shashtani indriyani prakristani karshati. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, all the living entities are eternal part and parcels of Krishna. Mamai vamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanātana. Eternally they are part and parcel of Krishna. But what happens is when one identifies oneself with manaha shashtani indriyani, so the mind is called the sixth sense, because wherever the mind is, the senses are present there. So yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipashita indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham mana. This is a verse that Sri Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, that even for the person who is trying to control the mind is in such an obstinate state that it haranti prasabham mana. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipashchita. So the person might be trying to control the senses and control the mind, but the mind is so strong that haranti prasabham mana. It just kidnaps the activities of the senses. So, but one of the good news that we have is that the attraction for Krishna is superior to attraction for matter. Tunde tandavani ratim vitanute tundavali labdhaye karna kroda kadambini ghatayate karnar budebhya spraham. Cheta prangana sangini sarvendriyanam kriti. No jane janita kiyadbhir amritai krishneti varnadvai. So this is said by Srila Rupa Goswami. So this is Cheta prangana sangini vijayate sarvendriyanam kriti. So the mind, one of the wonderful instruments that we have is mind. And when the holy names of the Lord is in the Cheta Prangana Sangini, when the holy name of the Lord is playing in the courtyard of the mind, it just captures everything. Sarvendriyanam kriti. Vijayate sarvendriyanam kriti. So whatever activities all the senses are doing, automatically everything will get stopped when the mind is concentrated on the holy names of Krishna. So this is the power of the holy names of the Lord, and that is the biggest boon that the Supreme Personality of Godhead provides to all the living entities. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinnatvat Nama Namino. So a person might be staying anywhere in the whole universe. So here we are talking about, it is being mentioned about the 3/4 part. Athava bhaunetena kim gyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekam shena sthito jagat. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that just by a fragment of his energy, he is sustaining the 1/4 part of the whole material world. And personally, he is present in the spiritual world. So we see here that the majority of the creation is the spiritual world, and a very small part of the creation is the material world. And the material world is based on tribhir gunamair bhaver, ebhi sarvamidam jagat, mohitam nabhijanati mamebhya paramavayam. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, this ebhi sarvamidam jagat. So the whole universe, janma and gatva. So the material world is called jagat. Jagat means ja indicates janma, birth, and gat indicates death, going away. So the material world is an endless cycle of birth and death, where until the time one surrenders onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, fully 100% surrender, one is unfortunately in the cycle of birth and death. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. Iha samsare bahudustare kripya pare pahi murare. Srila Shankaracharya mentions in Bhaja Govindam. So this is the existence in the material world. And that existence is fueled by the 3 modes of material nature. It is like, so tribhir gunamair bhaver, as it is mentioned by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, it is constituted of the 3 modes of material nature. Ebhi sarvamidam jagat. And therefore, mohitam nabhi janati. So when one gets enamored, naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavratā mudhoyam nabhi janati. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that he is not seen to everyone because he is covered by the yogamaya potency. So the yogamaya potency is the internal energy of Krishna, and the mahamaya potency is the external energy of Krishna. So it is the Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi. So this Mama Maya. So Krishna, the energy of Krishna is coming from Krishna himself. The energy comes from the energetic person. Just like we in the material world, we know that it is morning when there is brightness. We see the brightness and we know that the sun has risen. And when it starts getting dark in the night, we know that the sunset has happened. So the existence of the sun is known by its light and heat that it generates. So similarly, the existence of the Lord in the material world is known through his energies. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyaktamurtina matsthani sarvabhutani na chaham teshu avasthit. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that he's pervaded everywhere in the form of his energy. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyaktamurtina. He mentions the word jagat again. So jagat, as we said, ja indicates janma and gat indicates going away. So this is the constant cycle of coming and going, coming and going. In what? In what way? In the way of different bodies. So, and these bodies are constantly vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grananti naroparani tatha shariraya vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, he gives the example, metaphor of a person taking off the old cloth and putting on a new cloth. And so similarly, the living entity is constantly taking on new bodies and constantly giving up those bodies. So this is it's constantly in a state of flux. It's an unfortunate situation because in the original condition that the living entity is, there is only bliss. Ramante yoginah anante satyanande chidatmani iti rama pade nasha param brahma vidiyate. So in the original situation, as an eternal part and parcel of Krishna, the only existence is based on pure bliss. There is nothing else. So why is the living entity trying to find some small happiness here and there in this material world? Because when the so-called happiness is attained, one is immediately going back inside to one's own self. The mind is going inside. And the moment the mind goes inside and gets situated in the self, it gets unlimited bliss. So it's a very, there is some example that is given of that of a moth going into the moth sees something bright, some fire or some light, and it will go and it will just keep getting attracted to it, and finally it dies. So it's unfortunate situation. So that's why the most important thing is to understand our original constitutional position as an eternal part and parcel of Krishna. Jivera swarupahaya krishnera nityadas krishnasya tatastha shakti bheda bheda prakash suryansha yatha agni jwala chhaya krishnera teen prakar shakti haya. So this is mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the original constitutional position of all the living entities is that they are eternally in servitude to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Nitya Krishna Das. Eternally. So a living entity might be taking lots and lots of bodies in this material world. But internally, they are always an eternal servant of Krishna. So one may realize or one may not realize. So one may know or one may not know that the fire will burn one's hand. It does not matter. If I say or if I believe that fire will not burn my hand, it does not become a reality, because there is an original reality that if I put the hand in the fire, it will burn me. So the existence of the Lord is as clear as the rising sun. So whenever the sun rises, there is brightness and everything is seen. We are able to see. And when the sun sets, everything becomes dark. So we need electricity to see different things. So whenever there is the knowledge of Krishna, the knowledge that I am an eternal part and parcel of Krishna, automatically one is in one's original constitutional position. And then it does not matter what situation one is in, because the mind is fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. Savai manaha Krishna padaravindayo Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane, Karau Harer Mandir Marjanadishu, Shrutim Chakarachyuta Satkatodaya, Mukunda Lingalaya Darshane Drisho, Dhranam Chatatpada Saroja Saurabhe. So this is mentioned about Sri Kulashekara Alvar. This is the so even though he was the king of the universe, his mind was always fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. We have another example of Janaka Maharaj. Janaka Maharaj, father of Sita Devi. He was an emperor as well, but his mind was always fixed at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Ram. So when that fixture of mind is there, then automatically one is at the lotus feet of the Lord. So what happens is generally in the material world, because there is this as it is mentioned here. So we can look at the verse here. Pravartate yatra rajas tamas tayoḥ sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ na cha kāla-vikramaḥ. So it is mentioned about the spiritual world in this verse. The spiritual world. Pravartate yatra rajas tamas tayoḥ sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ na cha kāla-vikramaḥ. So there is no presence of raja, tama, and even the sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ. So there is no mode of passion, there is no mode of ignorance. And then sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ. So there is no mode of mixed modes of goodness with passion, goodness with ignorance, and goodness with ignorance and passion. If there is even trace of goodness, it is called vishuddha sattva. Sattvam vishuddham vasudeva shabditam. Yaditra puman tatra puman sattvam cha. So Lord Shiva mentions about this pure mode of goodness, purified goodness. Sattvam vishuddham vasudeva shabditam. Yaditra sattve cha tasmin bhagavan vasudevo. Yad yate adhokshaja. So it is mentioned by Lord Shiva that there is this purified goodness, purified mode of goodness. With the purified mode of goodness, one can actually understand Krishna. Adhokshaja, adha krita akshaja. So Krishna's savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaytuki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So Krishna cannot be known, cannot be seen by blunt material eyes. His names cannot be really heard by blunt material ears. He cannot be, the flowers offered to him cannot be smelt by blunt material nose. The food offered to him cannot be tasted by blunt material tongue. His name cannot be chanted by a material tongue. Names can be chanted, and names have an effect whether one knows or one does not know. So there is one verse where it is sung, where it is said that Vaikuntha nama grahanam asheshago haram vidu sanketya parihasam va sthoba helanam eva va Vaikuntha nama grahanam asheshaga haram vidu. So one might be saying the names of the Lord in jovial way without knowing the significance, or whatever way. One might be making a joke, or one might be pointing out, or whatever way, one might be just mimicking another person saying. It doesn't matter what way one is saying the names of the Lord. It asheshaga haram vidu. It's mentioned that unlimited sins are cleansed when the names of the Lord, when the name of the Lord is taken. This is the power of the holy names of the Lord. Whether one knows or one does not know, it has an effect. Just like the fire, one putting hand in the fire has an effect, whether one knows it or one does not know it. So this is the wonderful state of being in this universe created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it does not matter in which part of the universe one is there. One might be in the 3/4 of the spiritual world, or the 1/4, which is the material world, Ekapada Vibhuti or Tripada Vibhuti. What the most important thing is where the mind is. Wherever the mind is, we are there. So in the spiritual world, there is no difference between the actual person, their body, and their mind. Everything is one in the spiritual world. In the material world, we have our spirit, which is blissful, totally blissful, which we originally are, and that's why the process of spiritual realization is called self-realization. What is the reason it is called self-realization? Because once we uncover all the things that are not related to the self, what is seen is the self. So in the philosophy of Advaita, they have this concept of neti neti. Not this, not this, not this, not this. So I am not mind. I am not intelligence. I am not the body. I am not the senses. Then who am I? So that question is the way of Advaita. But one of the challenges with Advaita philosophy is that one considers that there is nothing beyond Brahman. So Brahman is the ultimate reality. Brahman, sarvam khalvidam Brahman. So that is one of the Veda Vakyas. I am Atma Brahma. Another Veda Vakya. That this, so the concept in the impersonal philosophy is that the Brahma Bhuta stage is the final stage. Brahma Bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. What happens is, unfortunately, in the impersonal philosophy, the mad bhakti labate param is unfortunately forgotten for whatever reason. Or it's not given emphasis on. So this mad bhakti labate param is extremely important there, because Brahma Bhuta Prasanna. So the starting stage is one understands that one is an eternal part and parcel of Krishna. So that is the starting stage. But in the impersonal philosophy, that part and parcel of Krishna is somehow not being cared for, unfortunately. What is cared for is that I am an undifferentiated oneness. That is the only thing that happens in the impersonal philosophy. But then hiranmayena patrena satyasya pahitamukham tattvaṁ pushan apavrunu satya dharmaya drishtaye. This is mentioned in Sri Ishopanishad. The devotee is praying to Krishna that, "O Krishna, please remove your glaring effulgence so that we can see your glorious face, transcendental face, beautiful face." Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pahitamukham tattvaṁ pushan apavrunu satya dharmaya drishtaye. So when the devotee of the Lord sees the transcendental, divine, eternal face of the Lord, one gets fully nourished. That is the nourishment of a devotee. And that is parabhakti. Mad bhakti labate param. So initially, one can go through the impersonal philosophy. Ye anye arvindaksha vimukta maninas tvayasta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya haruya krichena param padam tatah patanti yada anadrita yushmadangraya. This is mentioned by Srila Vedavyas in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Srila Vedavyas is mentioning that someone might think that I am liberated in the Brahmabhuta stage. Ye anye arvindaksha vimukta maninas. So Krishna's another name is Aravinda Aksha, one whose eyes is like a lotus petal. Arvindaksha. Ye anye arvindaksha. So one is thinking without recognizing Krishna, the lotus-eyed Lord. One is thinking that I am liberated. Ye anye arvindaksha vimukta maninas tvai asta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya. Unfortunately, that person's intelligence is not fully purified yet. Aruya krichena param padam tata. So such a person would do lots and lots of austerities and penances and reach the Brahmabhuta stage, that is a Parampadam Tata. Patanti Ada, Anadrita Yushmadangraya. Unfortunately, one falls down from that position. Why? Because one did not give respect to the lotus feet of the Lord. Anadrita Yushmadangraya. Anadrita means one. Adar is giving respect, and Anadrita is not giving respect, not respecting. Anadrita Yushmadangraya, who's the lotus-eyed Lord's lotus feet. So this is Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikantikasya cha. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that the Brahman is situated on him. That's why he's called Parabrahman. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum. This is what Arjuna says when he sees the universal form of Krishna. Arjuna addresses Krishna as, "Oh Krishna, you are the supreme Brahman. You are the supreme abode, Param Dhama. You are the purest, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. You are the supreme person, Purusham. You are the first person from whom everything is emanating, Adi Devam. All the demigods are emanating from you. Ajam, you are the unborn, and Vibhum, you are the greatest." So this is what Arjuna says to Krishna. Ahustam Rishyas Sarve Devarshi Naradas Tatha Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishine. So Arjuna says that you are the Parabrahman, Supreme Brahman, and then one might think that because Arjuna is a good friend and devotee of Krishna, Arjuna is just saying it because of his close relationship with Krishna. No. Next verse he says, not only me, this is also said by the great sages. Ahustam Rishayas Sarve, all the great sages. He gives the example, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, Narada, and you yourself, O Krishna, you yourself have said that. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. Madchitta madgad prana bodhayanta parasparam. Kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha. So as Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that everything is coming from me. So Krishna is the origin, cause of all causes. Sarva karana karanam. And so Ishvara Paramaha Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So he himself does not have any beginning, but he is the beginning of everything else. Aham evasam evagre nanya dyat sadasat param. Paschadaham yadetacha yo avashishyate sosmi aham. So Krishna mentions in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the Chaturshloki, the four seed verses of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The first verse, Krishna mentions that in the beginning, it is only the Supreme Lord is existing. Krishna is existing. Aham evasam evagre nanya dyat sadasat param. Before the existence of the truth and before the existence of even the spiritual world, it is only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eko ham bahushyama. So Krishna is one, but he is expanding in the form of his energies. So he has got the superior energy, which is the living entities, all the living entities, and then he has got the inferior energy, which is the covering of the living entities. But everything is, that's why Krishna says, Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mi pashyati, tasya ham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. So one who sees me in everything and everything in me, I am never lost to such a person, and such a person is never lost to me. Sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhunam hridayam tvaham madanya tena janati naham tebhyo managapi. So Krishna says that I am in the heart of my devotee. Actually, Krishna is in the heart of all the living entities. But unfortunately, one is not able to see the Paramatma unless one is surrendered onto the Paramatma, onto Krishna. So that is, so we see here, pravartate yatra rajas tamas tayoḥ sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ na cha kāla-vikramaḥ. So in the spiritual world, there is no the mode of ignorance, passion, and even goodness, and the time. Nimeshardhakyo ya na vrajati yatra samaya. Katha ganam natyam gamanam api vamshi priya sakhi. So katha ganam, every word is a song. Natyam gamanam api. And every walk, every step is a dance, a drama in relationship with Krishna. Nimeshardhakyo na vrajati yatra samaya. So there is no time is conspicuous for its absence. The past, present, and future is existing because we have this material body and we are in this material world. But when we are in the spiritual world, in relationship with Krishna, there is only an eternal now. And in that eternal now, the bliss is ever increasing. Pratipadam purna amrita swadanam. Anandam buddhi vardhanam. So this is spiritual world. Every moment, the bliss is ever increasing. There is no end to that bliss. So unfortunately, in this material world, when one is conditioned into different attachments to this material world, unfortunately, there is no end to those attachments as well. So what endless route do we want to take? Do we want to take an endless route of attachments and constant cycle, endless route of birth and death? Or do we want to take an endless route of being in our original constitutional position, and in that constitutional position, enjoying endless bliss in an eternal now? So what endless path do we want to take? The choice is ours. Because this is the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that He gives independence to all the living entities. So Krishna says, Yathechasi tatha kuru. Vimrshyetat asheshena. Yathechasi tatha kuru. So Krishna gives all the wonderful, transcendental, divine, eternal knowledge in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And in the end, he says that you deliberate over this, what I have told you. Vimrshyetat asheshena. Deliberate, constantly look at what I have said from all perspectives. Then you decide what you want to do, he says to Arjuna. Yathechasi tatha kuru. So this is the wonderful nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that He does not interfere with the independence of the living entity. Yasya ham anugrahanami harishye tad dhanam shanai. Tato dhanam tyajanti asya swajano dukkha dukkito. But when Krishna gives special mercy to someone, He takes special care of such a person. And that special care is taken from a material perspective. It might seem very strange. So Krishna says that I take away their material wealth. And this is what, that's why that's why in the conditioned state of existence, sometimes one might not be attracted to Krishna. Because internally, if there is lots of attachments for all the material, there are unlimited material hankerings that we have, because we have been taking birth after birth since time immemorial. We don't even know when we started on this conditional existence, conditioned existence. So there is so much of this attachment to the body and the material world and the mind, material mind, that it is. That's why Krishna says, "Devi yesha gunamai mama māyā duratyaya." It is very difficult to transcend these modes of nature, because at the end of the day, it is the energy of the Lord. So it is basically the living entity is the energy of the Lord. The modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance is the energy of the Lord. And the spiritual planets is also an energy of the Lord. It is a gradation of the energy, that is, and the influence of the energy that is happening between the energies. The interactions are taking place between the energies. So the living entity is tatastha shakti. It is a marginal energy. Why the living entity is a marginal energy? Because internally, as pure consciousness, the living entity is the internal energy of the Lord. But when there is this covering of the body, mind, intelligence, false ego, one is it is like an external energy. So it's a combination of internal energy and external energy. And the example given is that of the beach, tata. So in the beach, the water is coming in and the water is going, the ocean water. So if we take our existence in the material world as the land, and the water coming in and going as a spiritual effect, the understanding of our original constitutional position, that is how we can understand. Sometimes we understand that we are eternal, but most of the times, unfortunately, we are in a conditioned state of existence, thinking that I am this, whatever body I have got, and nothing else. Once the body is gone, I am gone. So unfortunately, that is a kind of conditioned state of existence. But in the original state of existence, we know that na jayate muryate va kadachit, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya, ajo nityam shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, that is our original nature, that we are not born and we will never die. Na jayate muryate va kadachit. And there was never a point in the past that we were not existing. We know that we are existing now, and there is never a time in future when we will cease to exist. Sarve vayata param. And so Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna that this is natva evaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipa nachaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayata param. So in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, there are thousands and millions of warriors assembled. And all the great kings, everyone is assembled. So Krishna says that there was never a time when I did not exist, O Arjuna, when you also did not exist, and when all these kings did not exist. So they were always existing. So this is the, so it is this existence in the material world is like that of one doing a drama on a stage. One takes on the character and one does that character. But when one is fully aware that I am only this character, I'm not this person really, then that is a state of self-realization. So when one fully knows that I am an eternal part and parcel of Krishna, and this temporary body is just a temporary thing. It is just come for a certain amount of time. It will go, and then if my surrender is full, I will be in the spiritual world with Krishna. If surrender is not full, we'll continue to have the cycle of birth and death. But at least every moment there is an option that one can keep that surrender alive, and one can focus on the lotus feet of the Lord. So that is what is mentioned here. Na yatra māyā kim utāpare harer, anuvratā yatra surāsurārcitāḥ. So this last sentence here, or the last lines here, anuvratā yatra surāsurārcitāḥ. So devotees wherein by the demigods and the demons worshipped. So this is the transcendental situation of Krishna, that even the demons are indirectly worshipping the Lord. So if we look at, say, for example, Putana, who smeared her bosom with poison and wanted to kill Krishna, but Krishna sucked the life air out of Putana, and actually Putana got this sayujya. So generally we say that the demons get the sayujya mukti. Sayujya is one getting merged into the impersonal Brahman effulgence of the Lord. So this is the greatness of the Lord. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyot sinapriya ye bhajanti tume bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyah. So Krishna is equal to all the living entities. So even if a demon is coming with an intention to kill Krishna, The wonderful nature of the Lord, the costless mercy of the Lord is such that that demon is being given liberation. So this is the wonderful greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why Krishna is called Karuna Sindhu. He's an ocean of mercy. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu. Dina Bandhu. He's a friend of the conditioned living entities. So in the material world, unfortunately, all the living entities are conditioned. So that's why he is Dina Bandhu Dinanath. He is the Lord of all the living entities. He is the best friend of all the living entities. So there is always hope for all the living entities in terms of experiencing that eternal bliss and going back home, back to Godhead. With that, I would like to conclude this verse. Pravartate yatra rajas tamas tayoḥ sattvaṁ cha miśraṁ na cha kāla-vikramaḥ na yatra māyā utāpare harer anuvratā yatra surāsurārcitāḥ. In that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time, so what to speak of the illusory external energy? It cannot enter that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as his devotees. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Krishna Materastu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.